Okay, so for this week, we're gonna talk about Helm integration with Open Cluster Management. So the last couple of weeks, we talked about application delivery via GitOps, and then we talked about how you can use GitOps with the Ansible integration with Open Cluster Management, so you can have the automatically deployment from one of the legacy system as well as integrated with Kubernetes for your entire stack of application delivery system. But what if you or your organization is not ready to take the GitOps approach yet? What if you or your organization already have Kubernetes and already have some of the application installing Kubernetes? So chances are you're using Helm. So I think everyone is quite familiar with the tool Helm. So just to give a quick overview of what Helm is, it's basically a CLI tool that provides an easy way to install application on Kubernetes. It's done by first collecting all the templates of objects that forms an application or services on a cluster, and then combine it with their own templating language, so you can customize your application on the fly. So once you have that Helm package, which they call Helm charts, you can deploy on your clusters either directly or upload to a Helm repository and have Helm CLI download it for you and install it. And when you deploy the chart, Kubernetes resources are created on the cluster. So that's Helm. That's a quick one through of Helm. So where does the Open Cluster Management Helm release comes in? Well, it's an operator that manages the application beyond the day one operation. It focuses on the daily operation and try to manage it throughout its life cycle, throughout all the updates, and even uninstall. So their seal code requires, so you're getting the benefits of having an operator without having to write any additional code. And in my biased view, it's one of the easiest way to get an operator up and running that represent an application that you care about or you want to manage with relatively ease. So I'm gonna do a quick demo right now with just the Helm release controller. So again, I have a kind cluster here created locally to save some time. I already have it created. Let me make sure that, and then I'm gonna go from I'm gonna clone just to illustrate how easy it is. I'm gonna clone our subscription release, Helm release repository. So I'm gonna deploy the CRD for Helm release, and then deploy the rest of the deployments as well as the roles, bindings, etc. So once I have the Helm release running, now I can deploy almost any Helm charts that I want to deploy, wrap it with the Helm release operator. So in this example, I have the ingress Helm charts. So let's take a look at what's defined here. There's not much defined here other than the direct URL of where to pull the chart from, and also a few customization that I've done that can override the default settings. So with a few quick lines, and we can already have a operator that represent this Helm chart. So if I apply it, so what this does internally is the Helm release controller will download the charts from the URL, expand it, and do an opinionated Helm install on a chart. what I meant by opinionated is we taking the most optimal approach of installing, which means we're not, since it's an operator, we don't want to sit there and wait for the install to finish. So the install will behave asynchronously. So let's look at the Helm release object detail. So we can see, hey, this is the spec that this is the custom spec that we want to override the default with, and
Hey, Mike, sorry to interrupt. Is it possible to bump your font up a little bit on the terminal?
Yep,
Cool. Thank you very much, sir.
no problem. Is this good enough or?
That's very helpful for me.
So we can see what is actually deployed in the manifest here. These are the Kubernetes resources that came with the chart, and now it's installed on the your Kubernetes clusters, on the Kubernetes cluster. So we can check, hey, so these are the two backend pods that that were redefined in the Helm release spec. So if we were to modify it, let's say we want to scale it down to 1, and then the Helm release controller will reconcile that, and we can see the backend pod is go back to 1. So again, I want to emphasize that, in my opinion, right now, this is for the community. It's the quickest way you can get an operator up, and then you can use any charts that you want that you upload, and then you just plug in. Almost you don't even need this spec line. You just plug in here, and then it will take the default values and deploy to your cluster, and you have a operator that you can play with. So obviously this is a loosely coupled with the subscription piece, but in my opinion, this is more of our least couple pieces in open cluster management. It can work on its own, and it's the original functionality came from the Helm operator SDK. So what I mean by that is, prior to even this year, we changed it just this year. We were calling the Helm operator from the operator SDK as a library, but since this year we have sort of forked off. But I want to mention that we have made many contributions back to the Helm operator SDK community, as well as you can see from the last few pull request issues in terms of the Helm side. The open cluster management community has been very involved in that. And as they migrate over to a complete rewrite of the Helm operator, we'll continue to support the Helm release with the original code. And we're also involved in that when they rewrite. We want to make sure the enhancement and the fixes that we're fixing in Helm release, as well as the old version of the Helm operator, are pushed into the new version of their new version of Helm operator. So that was a little quick shout out for the guys over at the Helm operator SDK side. Okay, so that was just using a Helm chart and wrapping it with the operator. So how does the subscription piece, how do you use it in your organization? You want to manage multiple clusters. How do you deliver using your existing Helm repository, or you're pulling from the official Helm repository? So that's where the open cluster management subscription piece comes into play. So in the channel, in the previous couple of meetings, the channel used to reference a Git repository. For the channel here, where we're going to reference the Helm repository. So let's look at the examples that we are about to deploy. Again, I have two kind clusters set up. The left side represents the hub cluster. On the right side, The right side represent the managed clusters. So again, to have this set up, you go over to openclustermanagement.io, you go through the install hub, install cluster, install application management, and then you can play with it on your local environment. So once you have this set up, let's take a look at the example that we're gonna deploy. So namespace is probably not that interesting, and just set up a dev namespace for the channel. So the channel here, as I mentioned, for the last few times we showed that the channel was pointing at a Git repository, but this time we're pointing at a Helm repo, and this is the new official Helm repository for all the community chart project. And then we can look at the placement rule. So the placement rule here, we're just saying, hey, go ahead and propagate it down to 10 clusters. But we only have the setup of one managed clusters right now, which is fine. So if we look at the description, so we look at the subscription here, we reference the channel that points to the Helm repository. We have the placement rule that will help propagate to the managed clusters. And now we want to mention, hey, this is the ingress version that we're interested in, and this is the spec that I overwrite the default with. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that. So what this does is similar to the GitOps, where the subscription is going to reconcile, look at the channel, and and evaluate the placement rule and put the subscription down to the managed clusters. So if I go to the managed cluster here, I should be able to see the app sub that I just defined here created. So again, it should create the Helm release object as well, because that's how the Helm charts are managed in the Helm release operator. And then we can see the pods, the replica count is 3, and that's how it propagates down. So in your cluster or your organization's cluster, to have a hub to manage all these Helm charts, you can go over here, for example, and say, oh, I want to scale down. Let me scale down the web. So when that happens, the subscription will get propagated down to the managed cluster, and then the managed cluster will modify the Helm release, and the Helm release will reconcile into that spec. So we can see it propagate down to the managed cluster with the default count 1. And if we look at the Helm release, so it might take some time for our synchronizer in the subscription to poll. So the polling, I think, is done every a minute, or with the recent change, I think every 2 minutes, so that when that polling gets completed, the Helm release object will get updated on the managed cluster, and then it will make the change. So now the change has been done, and then on the managed cluster side, I can see that the pod has been scaled down back to 1. So that's what I really want to present today in the Helm subscription piece for application management, as well as the Helm release piece, that where you can grab any Helm charts that you want into an operator and get it started really quickly and have a day 2 operation relatively quickly. So, are there any questions? Any ask? Oh, there's a question. Um, any questions regarding the Helm release and the Helm application delivery system? If not, then I'll just wrap this meeting short then. Thank you everyone for coming. Look forward to the coming open cluster management meetings because we'll be uh, talking about policies and cluster lifecycle for apps in the
Hey
next.
Mike,
Yep.
I have a quick question. Are we still focusing on the website as well, like adding content to the website that you started?
Yes, we are. So the pieces that we have here is the pieces that we already discussed in a community meeting.
Hmm.
As we publish more pieces, we're gonna present it in the meeting as well. We definitely have to continue to update this website, especially the getting started part, because
Hmm.
that's where public contributor can come in and play with it, and then to see how it works. In order for them to contribute, they really have to see how it works first, and then they play with it and it's find it useful, and that's when they make changes and contribute. So please, if you're responsible for updating your components, please continue to improve the website, especially in the getting started part.
Okay, thanks. So is the best way to just create a PR and then tag you all? Because I have an issue where the search team is asking me to help add this information on the website. So I just wanted to know what would be the best process.
Anyway, the website repo is in. So go ahead and fork this repo, and then you
Okay.
can make updates on it. So if you need examples, you can look at the closed PR, and then you can see some of the repo owners have made changes, and then Kujan and myself and Brandy will review that merge.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for your explanation.
No problem. Are there any other questions? Okay, if not, I'm gonna stop the recording.